The highway stretched like a vein of endless danger, semis thundering past in a blur of steel and exhaust. I clutched my toddler to my chest, his tiny breaths warm against my neck, as terror clawed at my throat. Every step a gamble with death. But escape was my only choice, until tires screamed, and my father's truck blocked the chaos. Little did I know, this rescue would unearth a web of betrayal so twisted it could shatter everything, or set me free. I'm Lindsay, gazing out from the window of my new apartment, the city lights twinkling like distant promises below. It's hard to fathom that 3 months have passed since I broke free from that suffocating nightmare. Each day feels like a fragile victory, a brick laid in the foundation of a life I thought I'd lost forever. But the memories linger, sharp as shards of glass, pulling me back to that harrowing moment when everything unraveled, or perhaps began to mend. It all ignited on that desolate stretch of highway, where the world blurred into a frenzy of motion and noise. I trudged along the shoulder, my arms aching from the weight of my 2-year-old son, Ethan, nestled against me like a precious shield. His little fingers gripped my shirt, his face buried in my shoulder, oblivious to the peril surrounding us. The roar of semi-trucks assaulted my ears, each one a monstrous beast hurtling by, shaking the ground and whipping wind that stung my eyes. My heart pounded in rhythm with my footsteps, a drumbeat of raw fear. What if one swerved? What if I stumbled? But I couldn't stop. Stopping meant surrender, meant returning to the prison I'd just fled. Sweat trickled down my back despite the chill in the air, my mind racing with doubts. Had I made the right choice? Was this madness, dragging my innocent boy into this? Yet, the alternative was worse. Staying in that house, where every breath felt monitored, every move a chain tightening. I pushed forward, one foot after the other, whispering reassurances to Ethan that I barely believed myself. Then, abruptly, the screech of tires pierced the din like a siren of salvation, or judgment. A battered old pickup truck skidded to a halt mere feet away, gravel crunching under its wheels. The door flew open, and there he was, my father, Henry, a grizzled detective whose face had seen too many shadows of the world. His eyes, usually steady as steel, widened in shock before narrowing into fury. He leaped out, his boots hitting the pavement with authority, his voice booming over the traffic's howl. "Lindsay, what the hell are you doing out here? Where's your car?" I froze, meeting his gaze, the weight of truth crashing over me. For months, I'd hidden the ugliness, but now, with the highway's chaos as witness, I couldn't lie anymore. "Dylan, he took my keys," I managed, my voice cracking. "He said I'm not fit to drive." Henry's jaw tightened, a storm brewing in his expression. Without another word, he ushered us into the truck, slamming the door behind me. As we pulled away, the silence inside was a vacuum, sucking away the external roar, but amplifying the turmoil in my chest. Ethan, bless his weary soul, had drifted off in the back seat, the gentle hum of the engine lulling him into peace. I stared at his cherubic face, lashes fluttering in sleep, and a tremor seized my hands. The adrenaline that had fueled my escape was ebbing, leaving a hollow ache of shame in its wake. How had I let it come to this? A mother reduced to hitchhiking with her child? Henry's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, his eyes locked on the road ahead. "How long has this been going on?" he asked, his tone low but edged with steel. I swallowed hard, the words tasting bitter. 6 months. Since Ethan turned 18 months old. He inhaled sharply, the sound cutting through the quiet like a blade. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" The question hung there, demanding answers I dreaded giving. It had all begun so deceptively sweet, like poison disguised as honey. One evening, Dylan's sister, Ava, had appeared at our door with a steaming casserole, her smile warm but her eyes appraising. "You look utterly exhausted, Lindsay," she'd cooed. "Let me handle Ethan tonight so you can rest." I was bone-tired, juggling motherhood and the haze of postpartum fog, so I gratefully accepted. Then Dylan, ever the polished finance expert in his crisp suits, had chimed in. "Don't worry about the bills, honey. I'll take care of the finances. You just focus on our little guy." At the time, it felt like a lifeline, a loving gesture from my husband. But the changes crept in like shadows lengthening at dusk. Ava didn't just help. She stayed, claiming the guest house as her domain. Mornings became critiques. My eggs too runny, my coffee too weak. She'd pore over grocery receipts, red pen circling items she deemed frivolous, organic milk for Ethan, a bar of chocolate for me. "Wasteful," she'd mutter, her voice dripping with false concern. When I vented to Dylan, expecting solidarity, he'd dismiss me with a patronizing sigh. "You're being ungrateful, Lynn. Ava's just helping. Maybe it's that postpartum anxiety talking. You've been on edge lately." Doubt seeded in my mind, sprouting weeds of self-questioning. Every inquiry about our savings being shifted to an account I couldn't touch earned me labels. Paranoid. Overreacting. Why did Ava have a key to our bedroom? "You're making things difficult," Dylan would say, his tone sharpening. They wove a narrative where I was the fragile one, the unstable element in our perfect family portrait. And I began to believe it, isolated in my own home. The escalation hit its peak last week. I'd planned a simple outing to the park with Ethan, craving fresh air and normalcy, but my keys vanished from the hook. Dylan confessed casually over breakfast, "I took them for your safety, babe. You've been so forgetful. Can't risk an accident with our son in the car." That night, and every night after, he'd snatch my phone under the guise of checking for stressors. But I knew the truth. He was scouring texts, monitoring calls, tracking my every digital footprint. I'd ceased reaching out to Dad, fearing the worry it'd cause him, and terrified that Dylan or Ava would discover my crumbling facade. Henry suddenly veered the truck to the shoulder, tires crunching to a stop. He turned to me, his eyes blazing with a resolve that chilled and comforted in equal measure. "That's not help, Lindsay. That's a trap. They've caged you in that house. We're going back right now. Get your things, and you're out of there for good." Panic surged in my chest like a tidal wave, my breath shallow. Go back? Face them? But deep down, a spark ignited. He was right. This was my chance to shatter the bars. We rolled toward the house in tense silence, the truck's headlights cutting through the deepening dusk like accusatory beams. My stomach twisted into knots with every passing mile. What if they weren't home? What if they were waiting, armed with more lies, more control? Ethan stirred in the back, letting out a soft whimper in his sleep, and I reached back to stroke his cheek, drawing strength from his trust in me. Henry glanced over, reading my fear without a word. "Stay close to me when we get there," he said quietly. "And whatever happens, don't let them pull you into an argument. We're in, we get your things. We're out." The familiar street appeared too soon. The neat suburban houses glowing under streetlights, all picture-perfect normalcy. Our home, no, their home now, sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, porch light on, warm and inviting from the outside. A cruel joke. Through the front window, I could see Dylan and Ava on the patio beyond, illuminated by string lights. Ava lounged with a glass of red wine, laughing at something on her phone, while Dylan tapped away on his tablet, looking every bit the relaxed family man. As if they hadn't driven a desperate mother to walk a highway with her toddler. Henry parked at the curb, engine idling. "You stay here with Ethan. I'll handle this." But the fear that had kept me silent for months suddenly flipped into something fiercer. I unbuckled Ethan, lifting his sleepy weight into my arms. No, Dad. I need to do this. I need them to see I'm not running anymore. He studied me for a long second, then nodded once. Pride flickered in his eyes, mixed with worry. We stepped out together, gravel crunching under our shoes like brittle bones. Ava spotted us first. Her laughter died mid-breath. The wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Her smile twisted into something brittle and sharp. Well, well, she drawled, setting the glass down with deliberate slowness. Look who's decided to grace us with her presence again. Dylan looked up, composure cracking for a split second before he smoothed it over. He stood, casual, hands in his pockets. Henry, Lindsay, this is unexpected. My father didn't waste breath on pleasantries. He strode up the driveway, boots heavy on the concrete. Where are her keys, Dylan? Dylan's eyebrows rose in mock surprise. Keys? Come on, Henry, don't be dramatic. We were worried sick. Lindsay's been unstable lately. We took the car keys to keep her, and Ethan, safe. I stepped out from behind my father, Ethan heavy but grounding in my arms. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I'm not unstable, Dylan. I'm leaving. Tonight. Ava let out a short, mocking laugh that grated like nails on glass. Leaving? Sweetie, where exactly do you think you're going? No job, no money, no car. Be realistic. Henry moved between us like a wall. His voice dropped to that dangerous calm I'd heard him use only on the worst cases. You're not protecting her. You're holding her hostage. Give her the keys. Now. Dylan crossed his arms, chin lifting defiantly. Or what? You gonna arrest me in my own house? She can leave if she wants. But she's not taking Ethan. That's my son, too. The words hit like a slap. Ethan whimpered, sensing the tension, and I tightened my hold. Henry's shoulders squared. Let's talk law for a second, son. Withholding her personal property, car keys, phone access, financial documents, that's coercion. Restricting her freedom of movement with threats and isolation, that's unlawful imprisonment. And if you try to stop a mother from leaving with her child when there's no court order against it, you're looking at felony charges. Ava's face paled beneath her makeup. This is ridiculous. You're trespassing. Go ahead and call the police, Ava. Henry cut in, voice like ice. I'll wait right here and explain the whole situation to my colleagues. I'm sure they'll be fascinated by the financial irregularities I've already started hearing about. Dylan's calm facade flickered. He glanced at Ava, then back at us. Fine. Go get your stuff. But this isn't over. Henry turned to me. Go. Pack what you need. I'll stay here. I didn't hesitate. Heart slamming against my ribs, I hurried past Dylan. He reached out as if to grab my arm, but Henry's low warning growl stopped him cold. Up the stairs, down the hall, into the bedroom that had felt more like a cell than a sanctuary. I set Ethan on the bed. He curled up with his blanket, eyes heavy, and began throwing clothes into the duffel bag I'd kept hidden under the dresser. Toiletries, Ethan's toys, my few personal documents. My hand shook so badly I dropped a bottle of lotion. It rolled under the bed. As I knelt to retrieve it, my fingers brushed the edge of the folder I'd taped beneath the mattress weeks ago. Evidence. Photos of bank statements showing transfers I never authorized. Screenshots of texts between Dylan and Ava. She's asking too many questions. Keep her distracted. The trust fund hit cleared. Wire half to my account. If she leaves, we say she's unfit. Custody will be easy. I'd collected it in secret, late at night while they slept, terrified every creak of the floor would give me away. Now it felt like armor. Henry appeared in the doorway, blocking the hall like a sentinel. Almost done? I stood, clutching the folder. Dad, I have proof. They've been stealing from me. From us. He took the folder, flipped through it quickly. His expression hardened into something lethal. Good girl, let's finish this. We descended the stairs together. Dylan and Ava waited at the bottom, faces tight with barely contained rage. Ava's voice rose to a shriek the moment she saw the bag. You can't just take him. That's kidnapping. Henry didn't break stride. It's not kidnapping when a mother removes her child from a dangerous situation, but preventing her from leaving? That's restraint. And filing a false report when you know the facts? That's a crime, Ava. Her mouth snapped shut, eyes darting to Dylan for rescue. We walked out into the cool night air. Ethan clung to me as Henry opened the truck door. Behind us, the patio lights flickered like dying stars. The drive to my father's house was quiet, the kind of quiet that follows a storm, exhausted but alive. I stared out at the passing lights, Ethan's head heavy on my shoulder, and felt the first real breath I'd taken in months, but the nightmare wasn't over yet. We arrived at Dad's modest 2-story house on the quiet edge of town, the porch light glowing like a beacon. The moment the truck stopped, the exhaustion hit me in waves. My legs felt like lead, my mind foggy from the emotional marathon. Ethan was fully awake now, rubbing his eyes and murmuring, "Mama home?" I kissed his forehead. Yes, baby, a safe home. Inside, the familiar scent of coffee and old books wrapped around me like an embrace I'd forgotten I needed. Dad flicked on the kitchen lights, set the kettle going without asking, then pulled out chairs at the scarred oak table. Sit. Breathe. We're not done tonight. I laid Ethan on the living room couch with his blanket and a stuffed bear, watching until his breathing evened out again. Then I returned to the kitchen, dumping the duffel and the evidence folder onto the table like offerings. Dad spread the papers methodically, bank statements, transfer records, those damning text screenshots. His detective instincts kicked in. He read in silence, jaw working. I watched his face shift from grim to thunderous. Jesus, Lindsay, he finally said, voice rough. This isn't just control, this is felony-level fraud. He pointed to one sheet, a bill of sale for the car, my car, the reliable sedan Dad had helped me buy years ago as a just-in-case gift. Sold 3 weeks earlier without my signature. Proceeds wired to an account in Ava's name. Another document. A $40,000 personal loan taken out in my name. Forged signature. Funds split between Dylan's investment account and Ava's credit card payoff. And the final blow. The trust fund my late mother had left me, supposed to be untouchable until Ethan turned 18. Emptied. Drained to the last cent over 6 months. Total stolen. $56,000. My throat closed. They planned this. All of it. Dad's hand covered mine, steady and warm. They thought you were too broken to fight back. They were wrong. We spent the next hour cataloging everything, photographing documents with my phone, the one I'd finally reclaimed from the duffel. Time-stamping each piece. Dad called a trusted colleague at the precinct, not to file yet, but to get advice on chain of custody. We build the case airtight, he said. Then we dropped the hammer. Sleep came in fragments that night, on the guest bed with Ethan curled against me. Every creak of the house made me jolt awake, convinced Dylan was outside trying to take my son. But morning brought clarity and confrontation. Around 10, the doorbell rang insistently. Dad checked the peephole, then opened the door just enough to block the entrance. Dylan and Ava stood on the porch, faces flushed with righteous anger. Dylan held a manila envelope, probably custody papers drafted in haste. Ava's eyes were red-rimmed, mascara smudged. "We want to talk about Ethan," Dylan started, voice tight. "You can't just kidnap our son." Dad cut him off. "Step inside if you want to talk. But keep your voices down. The boy's sleeping." They followed us to the kitchen. Ava's gaze darted to the evidence spread across the table. Her composure cracked. Dylan tried to maintain control. This is ridiculous. You have no right to— I stood up slowly, calmer than I'd felt in months. I slid the thick envelope I'd prepared across the table toward them. Inside, copies of every damning document, highlighted and annotated. A cover letter listing the crimes: grand theft, wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, financial abuse. You stole $56,000 from me, I said, each word deliberate. From your own child's future. This isn't a marital disagreement. This is a crime. Dylan's face drained of color as he flipped through the pages. Ava snatched a sheet, eyes widening. This is fabricated. Every transfer has timestamps. Every text has metadata. I have originals, and my father has already spoken to the DA's office. I leaned forward. Return every cent by tomorrow morning, wired to the account I've listed. Or I send this packet to the district attorney, your employer, and every family court judge in the county. And yes, I'll press charges. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Ava's lip trembled. She looked to Dylan for rescue, but he was staring at the forgery of my signature like it was his own death warrant. We can work something out, Dylan stammered. Family mediation. No. My voice was steel. You had 6 months to work something out. You chose theft and lies instead. Clock's ticking. They left without another word, shoulders slumped, the fight gone out of them. The door clicked shut behind them like the closing of a very long, very dark chapter. 3 months later, here I stand in my new apartment. Small, simple, mine. The city hums outside the window, alive and indifferent. But for the first time, that indifference feels like freedom instead of loneliness. The money is being clawed back through civil suits and criminal proceedings. Dylan lost his job the week after the evidence went public in the complaint. Ava moved out of state, tail between her legs. Custody hearings are pending, but with the fraud documented, no judge will hand my son to a proven criminal. I look down at Ethan playing on the rug with wooden blocks, building towers that touch the sky. He glances up, grins that gummy smile, and says, "Mama's strong." Yes, baby. Mama's strong. I survived the cage. I broke the locks. And now, every day, I choose to live unshackled.